passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Tucson, Arizona. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that if you are the only and last person in your row, have a party, but some quick guidelines. Absolutely spread out and use all of the outlets to your heart's delight, but remember, God is still watching you, so keep your socks on, you monster.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How are you boys doing today?
Subscribe to TV Pilot's License for a chance to win a margarita pool with this week's episode.
If God still exists after a mass extinction event, just take me out with it. I do not want to survive the virus.
Well, gentlemen, this week we are going back to the year of 2020 to talk about Last Man on Earth. Not that this show took place in 2020, or it takes place in 2020, but it came out in 2017? 2015.
Yeah.
Fun. But
I don't like how close they were. I really don't like how close.
Will Forte knew something. But before we dive deeper into this show, Max, do you mind telling folks what this podcast is all about?
Yeah, you all think the Illuminati are like the billionaire cabals of the world? Nope, it is SNL sketch comic Will Forte. Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, obviously, we're going to talk so much today about what Will Forte does as with the extreme benefit or curse or whatever of being the only man on Earth, and what you do to kill that time. I gotta know, if you found out you were the only man on Earth, R.I.P. this podcast.
No. I'm still recording.
No.
It. That's gonna just be.
Jeff.
I'm gonna have Ball Rich and Ball Max.
Jeff, we'll only have a couple fewer listeners.
I'm prepared for the idea of Rich's question of the week being, what ball do you think you would be if you
If I'm not a baseball, I'll be extremely offended.
Yeah, no, it's actually you're the cricket wicket, or you're the cricket ball. That's what you are. But Rich, what is your question?
What would you do is the first. What's the first thing you would do knowing that you were the last man on Earth?
Max, what are you thinking on this?
So assuming we're going with Last Man on Earth rules where security, location, none of that matters, I am doing what I like to call Scrooge McDucking at Fort Knox, where I am just diving into a reserve pile of gold coins and swimming a backstroke.
That's going to be painful.
He makes it look effortless.
So Max's first move is to break his own neck at Fort Knox.
Personally, for me, it's a lot simpler than that. I don't know about you gentlemen, but there's some things that are just taboo to do in public, right? You will be judged by everyone if you do them. And one of those things is, sometimes you just need a quarter, and you walk by a fountain and you just see so many quarters in there. So I'm going to grab a quarter from that fountain so that I can get a gumball from the gumball machine, because that's absolutely, I know that's so dumb, and Rich is really disappointed in my
right
answer.
now and not go to jail for it.
Jeff's taking the long road to Scrooge McDuckin.
Jeff, not only is money worthless, but you can smash open that gumball machine.
Yes, but I like to think at the end of the world, I would have some form of order and civility that I would still be bringing to my everyday life. I don't
Why?
know
You don't
how
have
long,
it now.
I don't know how long that would last, but I think it's more so not just the fountain concept, but embracing some of the taboo to do in public items, such as Scrooge McDucking, that I think that I'd be like, all right, cool. I'm just going to, not worry about farting in public anymore. Instead, I'm just going to let it rip no matter where I am. But Rich, I'm curious, what is your answer?
Well, aside from trying to take every drug known to man, I have 2 words for you: gravedigger. I'm going to find.
my God.
I'm going to find the world's most, the most sought after monster truck, most famous monster truck, and I am just driving that thing through whatever I can. I am smushing every car you can imagine. I'm running over. I'm driving it through supermarkets. I am driving it through Best Buy. I'm driving it through the Pentagon. I'm taking that thing everywhere.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for your question of the week. Before we talk more about Last Man on Earth, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey there, frequent flyers. This week's episode is brought to you by Riverside. Riverside has been the go-to platform for TV Pilot's License when it comes to recording this podcast. You can record crystal clear audio and video all in one place, and when you're done, Riverside makes it super easy to edit your show and put together pre-formatted clips for social media promotion. Not a podcaster? Not a problem. Riverside is fantastic for hosting live streams, creating educational content, putting together marketing materials, interviews, and so much more. So whether you're looking to finally get that podcast idea off the ground or take your show to the next level, Riverside is the platform for you. Get started by clicking the Riverside link in the description of today's episode.
Well, let's talk more about Last Man on Earth, and we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. The year is 2020, and after a deadly virus has swept the planet, only one man is left on Earth, Phil Miller. Well, that sounds a lot like what we watched, at least the first half, and we'll explain that in a little bit. But Max, can you tell us a little bit about how this show was made?
Today, we are talking about the pilot episode of The Last Man on Earth titled Alive in Tucson, Parts 1 and 2, which originally aired on March 1st, 2015 on Fox, and the show's creator, Will Forte, a bit. Forte's writing career begins while taking classes at the Ground Lakes Theater in Los Angeles when a comic book he produced called 101 Things to Definitely Not Do If You Want to Get a Chick lands him a job on The Jenny McCarthy Show and later The Late Show with David Letterman.
Oh, wow.
After being let go from Letterman after just 9 months, Forte returns to LA and begins performing with the Ground Lakes Main Company. Back in LA, Forte works as a staff writer on Third Rock from the Sun and That 70s Show, which you can find TVP episodes on both those pilots. Forte is invited to audition for SNL and gets picked. However, That 70s Show received a rare multi-year renewal and he turns down the gig. Yeah. Forte subsequently will join the cast the following spring. Fast forward. Forte is approached by the creative duo Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the team behind many of the century's more innovative animated projects and the upcoming feature film Project Hail Mary, amongst other endeavors. Originally conceived as a feature, the two want Forte to write a comedy about, well, the last man on Earth. Writing the treatment in just 1 weekend, Forte, Miller, and Lord shot the project around town with an entire first season crafted, focusing on selling to streamers and cable networks. The show, in a surprise move, sells to Fox, who, despite being network, offered Forte creative freedom with the project and a straight-to-series production commitment. Originally set only to write and produce, Forte steps into the lead role of Phil Miller and wrote the role of Carol specifically for comedian and actress Kristen Schaal. Fox decides to produce the show off-cycle filming in the summer of 2014 for a mid-season premiere in 2015. Today's pilot is directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who also helped Fox's Brooklyn Nine-Nine pilot. Listen to TVPO's episode on that as well.
Very nice.
Well, let's dive in, gentlemen, and we're going to road trip across America. And Rich, I'm sorry it's not Gravedigger, but what do you think about the choice of riding in an RV and marking off the map to give us an idea that Phil Miller is indeed the last man on Earth?
Buddy, the uncomfortable laughter I let off at the title card of 2020, 1 year after the virus.
Oh, yeah. Man, I know.
Oh, my God.
A joke that seemed like such a far-fetched sci-fi concept in 2015. Such a funny little joke. What a delightful little romp. I really like this opening. I love how long it takes in this pilot, this cold open and into the pilot, to get any actual dialogue other than asides. Mm-hmm. I love how long it takes before we even see Will Forte. I love this voice from nowhere just shouting hello in more and more ridiculous locations. The RV coming around the corner of a shopping mall and just hearing a disembodied Will Forte voice shouting hello is such a phenomenally crafted shot. Mm-hmm. It is such a good tone setter. It is such a great physical gag. It's just such like a broad strokes comedy moment without needing to have someone on screen or any actual like presence of your main actor.
Yeah. What they did really well with this particular scene is like the concept of starting a scene midway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't start off with the virus. We didn't start off with everything, all the grim stuff that led to this insane extinction event. It just like, it was just him. It was like a full year into it, of just like, okay, I have done everything I want to do alone. It's time to see if there's any other people out there. And frankly does something. This is a through line throughout the entire episode here. But do you guys find yourself like writing it in your head while it's happening, where it's just like, oh, of course I would do that, or it's almost like watching Naked and Afraid, where you're like,
I feel like when they were making this pilot episode, it was truly a very similar to what you asked as your question of the week, Rich. Cool. The world has ended.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Right? And
just a huge whiteboard behind you.
and it's literally like, there are no bad ideas. We might use all of these, in all honesty.
Yep.
Like, this montage at the beginning, I think, is so clever in not only tone setting for what this show is going to be with the RV in the mall. I literally was crying laughing because it's almost like RV playing hide and seek, which if you hear that and you're like, I want to see that, watch this on Hulu because it is one of the funnier things I've seen. But then having a line like Chinese hello, which Will Forte says, I was just like, this is what this show is going to be. It is going to be letting Will Forte just let loose on and be a star, as he is, spoiler alert, one of 4 people that is credited as being in this pilot.
And despite being such a heady concept, despite being such a high-brow idea in theory that could be so complicated and get away from you, there are so many simple rules of writing that are followed in this pilot, in this cold open. You hit the nail on the head, Rich. We enter late. We don't start with death and destruction. We don't start with a virus. There's no prologue in that sense. It is him on his journey already. We show, don't tell by crossing states off of a map without having to explain what he's doing. You understand what it is. And then we finally say the game out loud with the title card reveal next to the city sign for Tucson city limits. And now it's the last man on Earth. Boom. We just put it out there. We didn't need him to say it. We are just showing it to you right there. And this show, despite easily having the potential to like fall off the rails and like go crazy so early, it follows such a clean 5-act structure. It follows so many rules of writing. And I think it's just a testament to, you can do an insane clip of jokes per minute and build a hero's journey and build a 5-act structure and set yourself up to want more. Like, this is such an impressive like testament to good comedy writing.
So one of the things that I had in my notes was the idea and the concept of a sense of normal and routine in this show, which we start to see and then we start to see slowly unravel at the same time, right? This character of Phil chooses to go back home to Tucson, Arizona, when he has the opportunity to live anywhere he wants. He could live in the White House by all means, but instead he goes back to his shitty little apartment in Tucson just to then move into a mega mansion with 2 pools. We'll talk about what the purposes of those pools are a little bit later. But what do you think of the idea of this pilot being a way of delving into watching a character lose his mind in a comedic sense?
Watching this show again after having seen Pluribus last year is such a trip, because there's so many similar concepts that are also done in Pluribus. This idea of, would you live in your normal house? Would you live somewhere else? Would you decide to perhaps decorate it with some pieces that you normally would not have access to? Would you want to replace your common house decor with actual Georgia O'Keeffe paintings? Would you live somewhere else entirely. There's a character in Pluribus who decides to take over the penthouse of a Vegas hotel as his new home instead of being where he's from. Also say Phil Miller and Carol Sturka should cross over. We should bring this character back and reintroduce him to the Albuquerque world of Pluribus and see how the two of them would get along, because I think they would drive each other absolutely insane.
Oh my god. Wait, so is there any world where you would ever even go to Albuquerque if you were the last man on Earth? Because that feels like an insult I would do, but I don't know. Stop filming shit there. That's one of the I've had so few bad experiences in any town. Oh man.
I mean, what do you think of the idea of we get to see, in the beginning of this, it does very much have a comedic tone, right? Of seeing all of the different things, right? Making a margarita pool, giving us some small rules that are established in this pilot, such as there's no such thing as electricity anymore. At least from our understanding, there's no running water. So in order to have a toilet that functions, you have to refill it yourself, which is fine. But we get to see these small inconveniences, and Phil sort of start to disregard the concept of civilization throughout it. To go from comedy into almost drama and stark reality of the situation. Rich, what did you think of that contrast?
I mean, look, they do such a good job of hiding how sad this is, in the sense that, like, you have to lead with comedy in this, otherwise it's just going to be like, okay, we're gonna watch Will Forte slide into this madness that only has one way out. If it wasn't someone with the crazy comedic chops of Will Forte, like, it could go so dark so quickly. Mm-hmm. And the way he portrays his, like, sad or, like, crazy needs, like, the talking to anybody, the, like, really being really desperate for a woman's interaction and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, if you didn't have someone who's, like, so good at playing crazy, this would not work. And sorry, Max, you were going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I think this is just that transition from Act 1 into Act 2 they do really clean. And it's Act 1 is the shenanigans. It's the hilarity of what you would do in this scenario. The idea that the first physical line of dialogue that's not just like a one-off or a hello is apologizing to God for excess masturbation. Like, that's the first full sentence said by Will Forte. Uh-huh. The gag of him needing to enter a building that says no shirt, no shoes, no service at the end of the world, and blasting the door with a gun. It's like, what is the least predictable solution here? And he takes that. And then, yeah, we get this one trigger that flips it and shows humanity and shows depth and empathy and rounds out this character of Phil when his birthday leads him into this path of sorrow and, like, diving into his memories of the things he misses. And so now we've set up Act 2, and Act 2 is the flip side. It is the depression, it is the harrowing, it is the loss, it is letting yourself go. It is a fantastic callback to Castaway from Act 1 that pays off exponentially. But it is seeing this character's highs and then his lows and giving him the ability to then, like, get back up in the rest of this episode.
So we're going to talk about for this episode, the way that the pilot is distributed currently on Hulu is it's part 1 and part 2. It's episode 1 and episode 2 in this instance. And I want to transition us from Phil considering and very much intending to take his own life because he believes he is the last man on Earth, wishing for any form of human interaction, to being introduced to potentially the last woman on Earth in Carol. And Kristen Schaal's not the first woman that we see on the screen. And Rich, you have a big smile on your face. What did you think of this dream sequence that we got instead?
Well, it's so funny because I watched this pilot when it came out, and I just remember my brain only remembers the Kristen Schaal reveal.
Sure.
And because it's such a huge moment, and it's such a funny thing that, like, I don't know, I just love her. She's so goofy. She has such like a crazy voice. She's so funny, and it's just like this build up, this like exasperation and desperation for any woman on earth, and it's Kristen Schaal, and you got to have a lot of confidence to do that. You got to have a lot of confidence to be that person in a script. But you get, like, I completely forgot about the reveal of, is this some woman to him? Like, he doesn't know her, right?
I think
No.
it's just him picturing the most beautiful woman in this desert oasis that he's crafted in his mind.
Right.
And to get Alexandra Daddario a few months after she really blew up with True Detective's first cycle is just such a funny get. It's like you get someone who is so in demand, so popular at this time to basically be a cutaway gag, more or less.
But then we meet the last woman on Earth in Carol. And I mean, Rich, you did a great job of talking about Kristen Schaal as a character. But one of the big things on my notes is the concept of part 2 is wishing for someone so badly to spend your time with.
Monkey
to
paw
only
curls.
realize that the person who is left for you to spend time with, you would rather have nothing to do with and be as far away from. And Max, as a reveal, or as the monkey paw, concept, what do you think of this complete reversal of fate?
I love that we essentially picked our second Odd Couple show in a row on this podcast, because like that's what this boils down to in a way. It's like once you've eliminated all the fun and games of the first 2 acts, once you get to Act 3 and it's the 2 of them together learning to coexist, we are in Oscar and Felix territory again. We are in 2 people who need to learn to live together, who are driving each other insane. If you want to talk about like character building without the ball, every single progressively crazier grammar correction that Kristen Schaal tries to do is such good character building. And by the end, even I was racking my brain to try to figure out if it's correct or not. But yeah, it's like every sitcom, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how concept it is, like it boils down to one of a few simple games at the end of it. And like where we are is Odd Couple.
Yeah, it and not to like, I mean, I guess like I'll need to make a PowerPoint presentation at some point because of this podcast of just like, there's only 2 shows. There's 24 and The Odd Couple. Those are the only 2
And
shows.
911. 911 is a
that's
third
24.
special.
That's
so 24.
It's like
it's dumb 24.
Yeah.
It's dumber 24.
It's like the soup and salad taxonomy or whatever. Everything's either a soup or salad.
Everything's a ravioli. Yeah.
I mean, for this second part of the show, though, I talked a little bit about the concept of rules that were introduced in the first part. In the second part, one of the things that I love, and this might follow the Odd Couple construct, but Carol introduces a whole new bunch of rules that Phil needs to either acquiesce by or live to distinctively and very purposefully act against. And I
just
Max,
realized
you look insulted.
No, I'm sorry. I just realized the main woman in this show is also named Carol, just like in Pluribus.
There's only
They
2
both-
shows.
You're either named Carol or everything is soup.
I mean, Max, for you, having Carol be this created human conflict for Phil and his way of living for the past year, what do you think of that as furthering the audience's interest in this show?
I love the idea of like an altruistic foil, like someone who is actually like the true good being the foil to Phil Miller's hedonistic anti-hero in many ways. Someone who wants to believe in law and civility and the good in man, and is going to like use those driving principles to build a new Earth. And Phil, who is like pure id, like he is just impulsive and he has like abandoned so much humanity. But we also always come back to, throughout this pilot, little moments that do get to like Phil's heart, whether it's the birthday cake in Act 1, it's the arm falling off of the mannequin in Act 2, it is him doing like a true favor for another human being in, I guess we'll say, like, you know, Act 4 of this. It's all of these moments where Phil finds that part of himself again, and we know that like Carol's role is to help him get further and further to that light and away from the pure id of Margarita Pool.
It's also just like I think Carol is such a commentary on like, we have inherited this beautiful vast landscape of like beautiful creation. We are the product of millions, if not billions, of years of evolution, and we're going to take an empty canvas of God's creation and boil it down to strict rules. Like, that's what we're gonna do. To like immediately you're gonna find the only other person that you know is living on Earth, and you're gonna slap a set of restrictions on them. That's fucking crazy. I think Carol's maybe one of the most unhinged characters on a TV show that I've ever seen.
Rich, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that is one of the things that I left this pilot being, with the idea of, you start to think of the idea of, wow, Carol's coming in with these rules and this mindset, and she's trying to impose it on Phil. But it takes less than 24 hours for her to be around Phil before she starts acquiescing to his idea of just like, what the fuck is the point of any of doing this? When seeing Kristen Schaal create a fountain toilet is one of the things that I have written in my notes as, this is just it's a great moment in this pilot, because seeing a character give up, but you're laughing about it, even though it's so depressing. But
even the way Kristen Schaal does it, it's like, how does she do it in the most Carol way? Like, how would Carol sink to this low? Carol would still have to make a toilet seat for herself. Carol would still have to have toilet paper on the holder and soap with her. Like, Carol still has to have civility even as she descends. And the cutaway shot to Will Forte's face, realizing like where she is sliding down to, is so brilliant. Like, every time we see a moment that triggers his humanity, it is such a real reaction. He has such an expressive face, and I know it's so easy to talk about Will Forte for the big bombastic characters he's known for in this and in SNL and things like that. But what he does so incredibly well too are, it's like the empty silences, like the negative space and how he reacts in that. It's the facials, it's the subtleties. It's like he could do the big so well that you could forget how good he is at the little.
Yeah.
And like, he shines with the little in this one.
I agree. I do think like, for, you know, I know I just like kind of like went off on Carol's character, because it is crazy. It is a crazy character.
Insane.
You're also watching Will Forte be like almost a slave to his belongings that he stole, where he's like, oh, I can't go to another house and start over or something like that. Instead, I would rather live in filth with my Michael Jordan jersey and every painting known to man and stuff like that. And it is like, it is such like a interesting thing where she's like a slave to these like weird, I guess Christian ideals specifically. And then he's such a slave to like, I'm going to be an alcoholic and I'm going to like just throw myself into a constant state of depression when there's not really any reason to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, we get senses of that in the beginning, right? Like, we even asked in the beginning of this episode, why would he go back to Tucson? Other than there is a sense of belonging to that, and there's a sense of nostalgia associated with that this character obviously deals with. And even though we're a year out of there being a civilization, there is some sense of routine that this character of Phil associates with. I do want to talk about one other thing that happened in this pilot, and it's our final scene of this pilot, of the being invited on a dinner date over freshly made tomatoes by hand after having canned food forever.
I can't imagine how good those tomatoes must have tasted.
So much acid reflux, but it's so worth it.
That was the first thing that he's just eating those peeled those tomatoes out of the can. I'm like, no, don't do that.
I looked at like the Pepsid and I was like, all right, we're going to have one just in case I get secondhand acid reflux.
Secondhand acid reflux is such a Jewish disorder.
I'm curious about you two seeing, while Phil has gotten Carol to acquiesce in so many ways to him, seeing this version of compromise when you are the last two people on Earth, when Carol has such strict rules of, hey, we're going to repopulate the Earth together, but I have one condition. And Max, I've seen those head nods, so I want to hear from you.
I just think that, again, it's how these two play off of each other. It is Carol gets dressed up. She has held on to a dinner date dress and did her hair despite being in the apocalypse and wants to have this romantic dinner. Will Forte still eats with his hands. Like, he will not abide by societal norms, and it's just constantly like, how could Phil Miller drag Carol down to his level, and what can Carol do to try to force Phil into her world? And just like seeing how they're going to like fish out of water each other's like sets of rules. But yes, like the biggest rule of all, we realize that we must repopulate the Earth. We must start over. We are here for a reason, but Carol can only save humanity if she is legally married and wed. Like that is what she has to do first. And every step of this, from Will Forte screaming on the other end of a sliding glass door, pretending that no one could hear him, to him not getting down on one knee in the right place, to knowing what does it look like to Carol after we leave this episode to have to do this. Like, it is just so funny to build it up. And again, 5-act structure. This dates back to like the Greeks and to Shakespeare. Comedies end with feasts and weddings. Tragedies end with funerals. And like, we literally end it with a proposal. The ultimate pinnacle of ending Act 5 of a comedy, as long as we've been writing comedies.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Rich. No.
It's... I guess, you know what? My question is just going to bleed into whether or not we're going to like watch more of this. So let's go over to things we liked.
Yeah, no, that we do end this pilot with a proposal, right? We end this pilot with two people agreeing to be. I love that it is a proposal and now we're engaged rather than just like, hey, we're married, because that is something that's also hysterical. You're what are you going to do in the mind of Carol? And like in this, Rich, and a nod to what you pointed out, Carol is truly unhinged, wanting a wedding and wanting all of these things, even though there is it is truly ceremony without point. It feels like
she really just goes off of like, I had a vision for what I wanted my life to be, and it didn't involve every human on Earth going extinct. And I'm like, yeah, so change your vision. It's just so crazy. She's so steadfast. It's so funny.
So I want to talk about things that we love, things about this pilot that maybe we didn't discuss in depth that you want to give a little bit more shine to. So, Rich, you're nodding that head. I want to hear from you.
The unimpeachable, the unflappable desire in Phil to just find new ways to fuck around and entertain himself a year later, like all this time dragging aquariums out to the parking lot to throw bowling balls at them, to just like to just do whatever he wants all the time with the same amount of energy and excitement like throughout this is so funny to me. And like it just like building that giant 2-story Jenga tower, like that man had energy. He had things to do. And I think it's just like one of the funniest parts about that character.
Max, what about yourself?
the use of callbacks throughout this entire pilot, and every single time I cracked up at it, from the Castaway references and to seeing how that plays out throughout this pilot from like Act 1 into Act 2. Both times Phil brought out the gun, I absolutely was hysterical. And just like every time it had me howling with laughter. To the Jenga, every time we cut to Phil's home, the tower is taller. We see him lugging boxes of Jenga kits into his home at one point. Like, we just keep leading into the absurdity of the Jenga. And I think that this show sets up these patterns and these callbacks so well, and we know that's going to be like a reoccurring thing. Like, if they introduce something, they will hit on it multiple times.
Yeah, and for myself, it's been a while since we've watched a show where I'm just like, wow, you really need to watch every single moment on this, because there is so much detail and care that's put into this pilot specifically that, because Will Forte is acting alone in this, there are a lot of sight gags that need to be reviewed, right? Like coughing into the Declaration of Independence, or wearing Michael Jordan's jersey with just boxers on to watch Castaway, right? Like, it is stuff like that that is so absurd and is an additional laugh in a moment that could just be called very sad if it isn't for those sight gags. So definitely one that you need to pay attention to, which I really like with TV when we're now in the age of the second screen, where, hey, you don't need to pay attention to every single thing as well. Now, let's talk about wait a minute moments, things that cause you pause. We can question Phil's behavior. We can question things about this show. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got, Max?
I'm going to say the total emptiness of the world itself.
Thank you.
I am aware that there's been a disease that wiped out humanity, but like even the parking lots are empty.
Yeah.
It's a rarity when Phil finds a vehicle. Tucson is a pretty populated city. There would be more cars, more something. I don't know the rules of this world if there are no more animals of any kind either, but it just felt so empty in a sense that it was less like barren wasteland and more like this is truly a TV pilot where there is only one person on Earth. Like, I don't need to see bodies, but I almost wanted there to be a little bit more set decoration in that sense.
Yeah, that was my only note about it too. It just felt so vacuous the entire time that it was just like, oh, it looks like there was no humanity here ever. And we can argue about whether or not that describes Tucson in general, but for me, I was just like, and I know that would be really grim, but like, where are all the bodies, man? Like that last person alive was not a gravedigger. That's me in the truck.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I don't think a margarita pool would be my first choice of a drinkable pool.
No.
Just on the basis of the salt. If you have even like a slight open cut, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna be awful.
Are you familiar with margarita burns?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there's like this skin condition that people develop on vacation where they're drinking like on a beach or a poolside or something like that, where if you get lime juice on your skin, like from squeezing a lime from like a Corona or a margarita or whatever, and you wipe it on your skin and it is exposed to the UV of the sun, you can get like really severe burns on your skin from it.
Cool.
And it's called a margarita burn. So don't do that. Wash your damn hands. But
I do feel like the pH level of the margarita pool might just be enough to like kill any bacteria.
That's true. There's nothing about tequila burns.
Yeah, no. Well, this week, no in-flight questions. But if you have an in-flight question that you would like to submit to the show,
we got a bunch. We just said no.
You can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com. You can also shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Let's talk about the history of the show really quick. 4 seasons and 67 episodes. But this show was canceled 4 days after its 4th season. And in an interview, Will Forte actually said there were plans for a 5th season, and it would be the conclusion of this show. I don't want to spoil what the plan was and what the synopsis of that final season was, but it's definitely one that I wish was made, and maybe someday we'll get it in the future. As far as a ratings perspective, the show started and premiered with 5.75 million viewers. Very similar to what we've discussed. The show was released back to back. So that first day, you saw the first episode, you saw the second episode, very similar to what we did. But interestingly, this show never broke the top 50 shows in the US. It was a Sunday time slot on TV, so we're competing with the NFL. That is difficult, as we've mentioned. But the best average viewership was in the first season at 6.07 million viewers in that first season. As far as hard media, yes, you can find the DVDs available for this show. And we can finally talk about awards. 23 nominations, including 6 Emmy nominations. All of those were Primetime noms and 3 Critics' Choice Awards noms, but no wins, which I found very surprising. But yeah, that is the history of this show.
This show is so fascinating because like I did want to watch more when it came out, and then I just like I lost all my drive for it. It was so weird. I just like I think it is like that silence of it. Sorry, I know that's for. Are we watching more of this? Is it Game of the Week time?
It is Game of the Week
It's
time.
Game of the Week time, and I had to edit one of my questions because I found out it was wrong mid-show. I did a little bit of research on mass extinction.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is one of those.
Can't wait.
This is one of those horrible Wikipedia rabbit holes. I don't know if you guys have one of those that you go down every now and then. But in the history, I just did one question, or actually, I'm doing 2 questions. Fuck it. In the history of our planet, scientists have discovered about 15 mass extinction events, but 5 have done the absolute most to change our biodiversity. They're referred to as the Big 5. So, true or false? To our knowledge, the greatest extinction event in terms of taxonomic loss is the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction. That is the one where the 15-kilometer wide asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, causing the extinction of all the dinosaurs. Is that the largest taxonomic loss extinction event in the history of the planet? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well.
It is in the Big 5. It is not.
There's a big. This is like consulting. There's a big 5.
No, yeah, it is the Big 5. There's 15 total, but 5 have done the most, and they're referred to as the Big 5. If you're a person who studies mass extinction events, it is not the biggest of the mass extinction events, like as you said. It is number 5 of the Big 5. That's how. That's how many more. This was I'm glad I did not take an edible and read this because this is truly alarming.
I'm just thinking about like beings in like if there's an afterlife being like, yeah, so what Big 5 are you a part of? And I'm just like,
the Cretaceous Paleogene.
Yeah. Personally, I'm a part of I don't know, makeup number, and it was pretty fine. It was okay working there.
So the absolute largest, and I'm trying not to freak anyone out right now. And if you are high listening to this, please pause. The largest extinction event was by estimation. There's more that we cannot research because you'd have to dig so deep into the ocean to try to find fossils that it's like nearly impossible to do.
Don't trust it.
The largest extinction event was the Permian Triassic event. And do you want to guess what percentage of all living taxonomy on Earth was extinguished by that event?
99.7.
Oh, you guys both guessed like a very similar number. It's 83% of all living things on this entire planet. It caused the oceans to go acidic. It caused an anoxia, which is when the atmosphere
changes.
burns off all of the oxygen. So like you literally can't breathe. There's any oxygen breathing thing is going to die.
Not for me.
And then there was another one where that removed all the oxygen from the ocean. So like 75% of anything that lived in water died. It was like this planet is fucking crazy.
I mean, we're talking about like prehistoric organisms though here, right? Like we're not into anything.
And
okay.
And well, I mean, aside from like, yeah, a lot of things were also like, ocean creatures and dinosaurs and stuff like that. Those all got killed off. But what it does do is this thing called what is it? Evolutionary radiation or something like that, where it actually like speeds up our evolution. So all of a sudden we get a ton of varieties of new species that are under that taxonomy and stuff like that. Because they have
Sounds like you're saying it's a good thing,
I mean,
Rich. I don't...
Yeah.
So that's actually what Charles Darwin was studying with the finches, was evolutionary
Rich is a big
radiation.
fan of mass
I'm sorry,
genocide. That's what this is all about,
this is
actually.
crazy.
This is Rich revealing that he's actually pro-genocide.
No, stop that.
Well, yeah. Like
Hold on a second. This is a bad kind of... God, I hope people aren't searching our fucking... our transcripts for this. Okay, a slightly funnier question.
Great.
What, but not really. The flightless bird native, Mauritius, also known as the dodo, went extinct in what century? Was it the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, or 1800s?
Let's say the 1800s.
I think it's the 1800s. It was pretty recent.
It's the 1600s. I do know.
Oh.
I thought it was way more recent too, which is why I gave you the question.
I
we
thought
talk
it
about
was-
the dodo a lot more. We
Yeah.
talk about the dodo a
Well,
lot.
we got drawings of it. We don't have a lot of drawings of things that we've caused to go extinct. But yeah, this is truly one of the most eye-opening and truly upsetting.
Would you eat a dodo?
Ooh.
I mean,
Solid question.
not if I know it's going extinct.
In-flight
Would
question.
you fry it?
Would you eat a dodo if it was readily
Let us know
available?
in the comments. Would you eat?
Yeah.
Would you eat an extinct flightless bird?
I know I would.
I mean,
Hell,
I
I'd go
look at
back
a
for
turkey-
seconds.
I look at a turkey and I'm like, that's food. So like, I
Yeah,
think
man.
a dodo would be the same conversation in all honesty.
Give me a 3-piece and some sides.
Yeah, some dark meat, some dark meat dodo.
Slow roasted, baby.
Oh,
well,
man.
Rich, thanks for that in-flight question. Gentlemen, our
Christ.
flight is coming to a land. But before we go, I want to make sure that I ask you 2 questions. And the first is based off of we're going to call this a pilot, right? It was 2 episodes combined, but based off of this pilot, are you in for episode 3, which is something I've never said on the show before, but I'm going to say it this time. And then the second question is, for the most part, this was a very limited cast for the show. This was basically a one-man show, as is in the title. Do you think that we could have something like this on TV at all and be successful like this, where we have such a limited, maybe 1 to 2 person cast to carry an entire series? So, Rich, I'm going to start with you.
I do want to watch more of this. I will say, the thing that prevented me from watching more of it when it first came out was, I mean, number 1, streaming wasn't that huge quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I feel like I got enough of what was going to happen from the pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
But which is so weird because I love Will Forte, I love Kristen Schaal, I love this concept, I love the acting, I love the big swing of only having 2 actors on screen ever. Like that's so cool. Like it's such a cool idea, and I'm so glad they made this. I don't know why I stopped. I'm definitely watching episode 2, or I guess technically episode 3.
Max, what about you?
Yeah, I was absolutely enthralled by this, and it is so entertaining and has an amazing jokes per minute, yet it is also so traditionally structured, and it strikes such a balance of in-your-face broad comedy with just like classic sitcom writing. It's a definite yes for me. It's a show that I fell off of like hard when it
Same.
aired, and I don't know why? So I'm like, what happens where I said I'm out, but I'm definitely going to get back to that place. As for your second question, yeah, I am all for small limited ensembles. I'm all for single locations. Give me the TV equivalents of a 12 Angry Men or a Rear Window that basically take place in one location. Give me the TV equivalent of this trend happening in theater right now where one person plays 20-something parts. Like,
are you referring to just the Cynthia Erivo Dracula thing?
Dracula.
And the Sarah Snook picture of Dorian Gray, both from the same director.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am all for limited cast. Like, it doesn't matter if it's well written, it's well acted. I would absolutely watch that.
Yeah, for myself, I think that this show is a triumph in new types of formats, right? Especially if we look back at 2015 and something like this came out that is so different from everything else that was super successful at that point in time. Even on Fox itself, this was a blackbird and a black sheep as far as how it was doing and the word of mouth. That being said, I think that it deserves an episode 3, right? Like there's so much work that is done in the first and second episode that you owe it to yourself to watch the third episode to decide, am I in or am I out? Even if you're meh on the second portion of this pilot.
Can we try to piece together like why we didn't want to continue on when we first watched it? I don't know why.
I literally just looked. This is not like our last week's episode, right?
Uh-huh.
This is not a case of traveling time slots where this show was consistently all 4 seasons Sunday at 9:30 p.m. on Fox,
which is one of the best times to watch Fox.
It was after Family Guy. It was after Bob's Burgers. Like it was consistently in a great time slot for this.
That is Kristen
sort of
Schaal
audience.
Network domination.
Exactly. As far as limited casts for TV shows, I'm absolutely for it. I think that there is something that is so powerful about being able to command a scene by yourself. And it's not only the actor that is doing so, but it speaks to the writing and the directing, which I want to give one more kudos to everyone involved in the creation of this pilot, because this is very much, even though it was only Will Forte on screen for the majority of this pilot, there's something so amazing about how well done it was that I was just captivated by every single thing he was done, and it felt like a clear story throughout the entirety of this pilot.
This has to be the only example where at one point there was more directors than there were actors.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Lord&Miller and just directing just Will Forte? That's crazy.
But gentlemen, that is our episode, and our flight has come to a land. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me making all my intrusive thoughts come true, and you can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself over at on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
Max?
You can find me in a football hanging out your local bar and on all things social media at Maxwell Sig.
Damn it, Max, you took mine. But
and I'm Geoff.
And you can find me finding new creative uses for pools. Who knows what I'm going to put in them, but I'm going to have a fun time.
Oh, no.
But
this
if
is my
you're looking
drinking
for the
pool.
TV
This is my pissing pool.
But if you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere you like on social media at TV Pilot's License. You can see our smiling faces on YouTube. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe on Spotify or your chosen podcasting platform. Leave a review. They are extremely helpful. And if you want to join in on the conversation, you can follow us on r/TVPL on our subreddit.
/
Forward slash, excuse me. I never know which one it is.
You're going to send them
if
to
you
the
have
dark web, Jeff. Don't do that.
If you have a question for the show or maybe a suggestion for our next episode, you can always submit those at tvpilotslicense.com or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
I would rather eat a cat.